For almost all of human history, like 99% of it, we were wanderers. We followed the herds, we gathered whatever the land gave us, and we lived in a world that stayed pretty much the same for millions of years. And then, bam! In what's basically a geological blink of an eye, everything changed. We took this huge gamble, a gamble that would completely redefine who we are and reshape the entire planet. Today, we're digging into that gamble, the Neolithic Revolution.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's staggering, really. For 2.5 million years, we did things one way. Then, just 10,000 years ago, which is barely a blip on the radar of human history, we threw that all away for something completely new. So this wasn't some slow, gradual change. Nope, this was a full-blown revolution, and it set the stage for our entire modern world.
And this, right here, is what some call history's greatest rupture. We have this idea that it was all progress, right? But for the very first farmers, the reality, it was, well, a lot darker. We essentially traded a life that was healthier and had a lot more free time for one of constant backbreaking work. So the real mystery isn't just how we figured out farming. The much bigger question is, why on earth did we do it? And that's really the core puzzle we're going to tackle. I mean, really think about that for a second. Why would you ditch a strategy that worked for hundreds of thousands of years for a life that for most people meant being sicker, shorter, and working all the time? It just doesn't make any sense on the surface, but it's exactly what our ancestors did. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this mystery, archaeologists have come up with a few different theories. You can kind of think of it like a detective story, right? We've got 4 main suspects, 4 big ideas trying to explain what pushed us over that edge, from just finding our food to actually making it. So, what are these leading theories? What are the main suspects in our investigation? First, you've got the climate crisis. About 12,000 years ago, a crazy cold snap called the Younger Dryas hit and totally messed up the ecosystems people relied on. Maybe farming was a desperate plan B. Next up, population pressure. The idea is simple. As we got better at surviving, we started to run out of prime real estate, pushing people into tougher environments where they had to get creative to eat. Then you've got a really interesting one, a revolution of symbols. This theory says the change wasn't about what was happening outside, but what was happening inside our heads. And finally, good old social prestige. The idea here is that ambitious leaders wanted to throw huge parties, basically, to show off and gain power. And the only way to get enough food and, yeah, beer for these massive feasts, you guessed it, farming. Now look, all of these probably played a role, right? It's complicated. But we're going to zoom in on that third one, the symbolic revolution, because it really flips the whole story on its head. See, this theory says that farming didn't start because we had to. It wasn't about economics at first. It was about a massive shift inside our own heads, a new way of seeing the world, a new religion, and a new desire to control nature instead of just being a part of it. And this quote just nails it perfectly. What if the whole point of the first big harvest wasn't just to fill empty stomachs, but to hold these massive ceremonies? What if the real driving force was the need to feed the gods, or to feed the hundreds of people building temples for those gods? It suggests our spiritual world changed first, and our physical world followed. So where's the proof for such a wild idea? Well, the best evidence we have comes from the Fertile Crescent, an area that covers parts of modern-day Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. This place was ground zero for the whole revolution. It's where all the clues start to come together, and where our ancestors started building a world no one had ever seen before. So let's just run through a quick timeline here to get a sense of how fast things started moving. Around 9500 BC, you have Göbekli Tepe, these massive temples built by people who weren't even farmers yet. Fast forward a bit, and you've got Jericho building the first walls. Then you get to Çatalhöyük, a massive town of thousands. When you lay it out like this, the pace of change is it's absolutely breathtaking. All right, let's start with Göbekli Tepe, because this place is a total game changer. You've got people who are still hunter-gatherers, no farms, no permanent villages, somehow organizing to build these incredible, massive stone temples. This is huge. It proves that complex religion and the ability to organize came before settled farming, not after. And think about it, to build something this big, you gotta feed a whole lot of people for a long time. This might have been the very first incentive to figure out a reliable surplus food source. Then we move on to a place like Jericho, and we see something else starting to happen. People started taking the skulls of their dead, covering them in plaster to recreate their faces, and keeping them in their houses. This ancestor cult points to a totally new way of thinking. It's about being tied to one specific place, to your family line, to property. It's like
My great-great-grandma is buried under this house. This land is ours. It's a powerful claim.
And then you get to Çatalhöyük in what's now Turkey, and wow, this place is something else. It's not really a city like we think of one. It was this giant honeycomb of houses all packed together. No streets. You walked across the rooftops and climbed down a ladder into your home. For about 1,000 years, thousands of people lived here, and it seems like they were all pretty much equal. No signs of kings or priests. It was this incredible social experiment. So, okay, we've got all these amazing achievements, right? Incredible art, mind-bending architecture, huge communities. But there was a dark side, a really dark side. For all this progress, the life of the average person actually got a whole lot worse. This was the hidden cost of the revolution. And we know this because the evidence is literally written in their bones. When archaeologists look at the skeletons, it's clear. Hunter-gatherers were taller, they were healthier. The first farmers, they were dealing with malnutrition. Their teeth were rotting from all the carbs, and they were catching all these new diseases from living with their animals. Their bones are just covered in signs of backbreaking, repetitive work. This chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. So back in the Paleolithic, the average guy was about 5'9". Not bad. But after we switched to farming, that average height drops, all the way down to about 5'3". That is a huge physical decline, and it's a direct result of a worse, less varied diet.
34. Just think about that number for a second. What could it possibly represent? It's not about diet or height. It stands for something much, much darker that came with this new way of life. 34. That's how many people, men, women, and even children, were slaughtered and just tossed into a mass grave we now call the Talheim Death Pit. This is one of our first absolutely chilling pieces of evidence for organized war. See, once you have land and you have storehouses full of grain, suddenly you have something worth killing for. Farming gave us war. And it didn't stop with war. For the very first time in our history, one person could hoard a surplus. You could have more grain than you and your family could ever eat. And that surplus, that's wealth. And the second you have wealth, you get inequality. This is the birth of social classes, of the rich and the poor, and eventually of kings and rulers. So, where does that leave us? How do we even begin to make sense of all this? Was this whole farming thing a terrible mistake? Was it a trap that our ancestors just stumbled into? Or was it a necessary evil, the painful first step towards, well, everything we have today? I think this really sums up the great trade-off, doesn't it? On one side of the ledger, we got the foundation for, well, everything. Cities, technology, incredible art. But on the other side, we lost some pretty fundamental things. Our health tanked, equality went out the window, and that free time hunter-gatherers had, gone, replaced with endless, hard labor.
So, yeah, in many ways it was a trap. Once you had bigger populations that depended on those crops, there was no turning back. You couldn't just go back to the old way of life. But, and this is the big but, it's the trap that made modern civilization possible. Without it, you don't get writing, you don't get science, you don't get any of the complex societies we live in today. And all of this leads to one last big question that kind of brings it all home to today. We look at our own technology, our own progress, and we think it's all for the better. But what are the hidden costs? What are the trade-offs we're making right now? Is it possible that future generations will look back at us and see our progress as just another trap, one that we walked right into?